Hey, Sean, it's great to have you back on the show. Thanks for coming on again.
No worries. I love to be back. Thank you.
So, we got you on today to mostly talk about your new movie, your directorial debut, Crust, which has been in the works for like a long time. Like you mentioned it last year when you were on our show.
It started in 2016. By the way, this is my cat. I'm not specially endowed. Just let me just. This is Squishy. Squishy is old and cranky, and if she doesn't walk into every door that needs to be open, and if it's closed, she's going to scream. And then when you open it, she doesn't go in. She just, it needs to be open. That's all.
Fair. I have two cats of my own that are very similar.
Can I ask you honestly? Are they older?
These ones aren't. The one I had directly before them was 18 when he
Did,
passed
did,
away.
did the 18-year-old turn into just this brazen old crank?
Yeah, he was
Larry
Larry
David,
David in cat form.
Aren't
like
cats
towards the end.
always kind of brazen, though?
No, not
No,
so
no,
Jordan's
no,
not
no,
a
no.
Jordan's
I'm
not a cat person.
I'm like highly allergic, so I've developed a wall, you know?
But that's safety and that's smart.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, people get the wrong cat, dude. I
Yeah.
foster kittens. Kittens can be here's what's great about cats, and I was a dog person, is they don't need as much, but if you get the right cat, they snuggle with you every night on your
yeah.
lap while you're watching TV. They sleep with you near your bed. But just as she's turned like 16, 17, she's basically like, I need everything I want right now. And now she will jump on the table where a hand clap, get off the table, is literally like this. She'll go, I'm eating your food.
Yep.
Wow.
She doesn't care. She just doesn't care anymore.
And
Like,
I'm a humongous dog person, and you said you were a dog person. Now you're a cat person. You've converted.
I'm adding to my animal
You're
recipe.
just an animal guy.
It's missing.
Adding to.
Yeah, if we go on vacation, it's have my daughter stop in once. My ex-wife goes on vacation. My daughter has to stay there and walk the thing 5 times.
I've always said, because I grew up a dog person, like my family were dog people, and not until I was an adult did I realize I'm actually a cat person.
Yeah.
I have always said that having a dog is like having a child, and having a cat is like having a roommate, right?
Yes.
And that cat is fairly autonomous.
I see that. I can see that.
It really, but that's why I like it, because my cats now, they'll let me know when they want attention, and when they don't want attention, they just go about their day.
And I have a long-haired Chihuahua, so he's cat-sized. So he does all the things that you said that cats do. He hangs out. He hangs out on the bed, hangs out while I watch TV. But it is a bit like a child.
It's a roommate. It's one of your best friend roommates. It's not one of the ones rent check.
And it's funny you mentioned people get the wrong cat. And in that situation, it's like having a terrible roommate. It's like having a roommate that you have zero chemistry with.
Oh. This is making so much sense.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and listen, the craziest thing is, now that she's older, brazen in terms of, I need food, and her wet food has to be in the center of her dish. When she eats it and pushes it over with her nose, she yells again until we put it right back in the middle. Crazy stuff like that. But on the weird flip side, she's been way more cuddly and lovey than she's ever been. So basically, I had like a fun, interesting personality cat that is now Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And I don't know.
The beast inside has been released.
Well, now that she's old, it's like now she's more of a dog than ever. Like yesterday, I had a tuna sandwich. I'm sitting there I was doing some stuff, and a tuna sandwich sitting on my lap by the couch. I was watching the show. She gets up and literally just pushes her head, lifts up the bread, and just starts going at the tuna. And I'm like,
wow,
right here.
Yeah.
Like there's no fear anymore about me. Like
the cat's like, I'm done waiting for you, man. When I'm hungry, I'm done waiting.
So my wife and I just had a baby 4 months ago, and it was like a switch flipped in our cats' heads. When that baby came into the house, they all of a sudden realized that like our attention was no longer on them in any way.
Yes.
Like they do crazy shit now, like what you're talking about, where like I'll be lifting food to my mouth and one of my cats will just bat it out of my mouth.
They've learned to open the cans.
Yeah,
I've seen it happen.
It's gnarly. All right, so we got way off track. So Crust 2016.
All right, so way back, you guys talking about a long time ago last year. We got to go back to 2016, 2015.
Yeah.
Okay.
So 2015, I finally my ex-wife and I split up in 2014. But then I move into an apartment. We did a thing called nesting, which is kind of very interesting. It's very kind of new way to do a divorce, where you get an apartment. So my ex-wife and I got along well enough to say, all right, we're getting a small apartment in town. It was like a studio, nothing in it hardly. And we'd take turns staying there, and the kids would stay in the house, right? So they stayed in the home. We didn't have to pull them out of their home, but we went back and forth.
That's
so
brilliant.
Wow.
That's brilliant.
Most people don't do it because they can't get their spouse. They probably don't get along with their spouse to share an apartment. Yeah. So they can't afford the two apartments plus that. But we did, and it was fine. But then in 2015, it was time to move out of the house. I had started a new relationship like 5-6 months with my now wife. And when we moved into this apartment, I was fine. Everything was good. But then the holidays started coming up, and it just hit me. And I think it was 18, growing up, all the girls in their house, when we hit the holidays, we had a dope stuff for Halloween. We always did really cool stuff at our house. We had always like a skeleton theme. One year we had like Arabian Nights, and all the skeletons were dressed with flying carpets and stuff like that. We had a circus one time where we had a trapeze person hanging from a tree and walking across it. We
also
always
skeletons.
All skeletons.
All skeletons.
That's fucking
all skeletons all the time.
All skeleton winter Underland, and we had to do snowboarding in the tree and stuff. It was so dope. But then Thanksgiving, we always made a big deal. Christmas, same thing. And so it was the first time approaching the holidays, and I felt like a failure. You know what I mean? I felt like, I'm the divorced dad in the crappy apartment, and I had went through a major depression. It was really tough. And almost, broke up with my girlfriend. It was just a terrible time, lost a ton of weight. And then I came out like in January, and my ex-wife said, I think you just need to get through the holidays. She was correct. I did. And when I came out through the holidays, and my wife now, and I sorted things out and stuff, I got through it. And I felt good. Like I'd never had one of those. It's terrifying because you feel like I'm going to be this way forever. Mm-hmm. You get out the other end, and all these feelings just hit me. Like anger and frustration, and I wasn't mad at anyone. I wasn't, I didn't know what it was. And through the whole time, people were saying, "Oh, you should have had a pet." We're talking about that. And I go, "A pet, dude? I couldn't take care of myself, man. Mm-hmm. Like, how could I take care of a pet?" Years before that, I had pitched to some horror people that they were like, "We need to do a low budget horror comedy. Can you come up with anything?" I go, "Well, how about a guy who collects the socks on a laundromat and just, turns into a sock monster?" And I just never thought of that again until after that. I was thinking, I said, it'd be fun to have a pet that took care of all my enemies and all my problems. And I went, oh man. And the two kind of merged together. Then I went on a set for Ugly Sweater Party, Aaron Mento. If you haven't seen his movies, he's very much like a young John Waters. Mm-hmm. It's in his new movie 16 Bits. I hope you can see it. Like if you didn't know it wasn't made in the 80s, you literally would just go, "Oh, I found this movie from the 80s." Like, cool. He made it so cheesy. It's so dope. So he's incredible. But him and his boys were like making this movie on the cheap. And I went, "Oh, I have to write a movie that I've always thought about, the sock monster." And I went home, and with those feelings, and I hooked up one of my oldest friends, and it just flew out of me. The whole thing just flew out of me. It was crazy. So we tried to get it going with that group, and Felissa was in it, and then we didn't know how to do Indiegogo. It didn't do very well, and we just didn't know anything. And then many iterations through different producers, loving the script, seeing what they liked, and really good friends giving me really good notes, that helped shape it over those years. But they're always trying to change it and say, maybe you got to do this, maybe you do that. And because we want it on the shelves of Walmart, and we want, don't do it in black and white because people will not want. And I just said, I'm not making this for that. I'm making this for the people who grew up with me that loved People Under the Stairs, which is not, you go Wes Craven, Scream, Freddy, 100%. Everybody knows that little trilogy of weird films he did, Serpent in the Rainbow, Shocker, and People Under the Stairs. That was like, sure. I don't know if Bowie fan, but I always say it's like Bowie was when he went to Germany and he did Heroes, Low, and Lodger, and he did all the weird stuff with Brian Eno, and then came back and did more popular stuff. But like those movies are cult movies, but the people who love them love them. Yeah.
That's what you have to do with that kind of movie. I mean, with those kind of movies, especially if it's a horror comedy, like if you cater too much, then one of those edges is going to get too dull, right? It's either the comedy is going to get dumb or the horror is going to get completely like washed out.
Yeah, and what was really cool is Phyllis was in the original thing, and then I was, getting involved with another couple producers who were kind of leaning into different aspects that I wasn't really into. And I thought, and then she has a new producing partner named Dan Kearney. I hadn't really been in touch with her business-wise. We've been just busy. And him and his buddies are businessmen from Connecticut. So they don't know how to be sleazy producers. You know what I mean?
Sure, it's Connecticut.
They're like killer socks, you say.
Yeah, they're literally like wait, shouldn't you do this by the books and treat everyone fairly? And I go, yeah. And he goes, wait, people don't do that? And I go, no.
Right. You're like, oh, honey, don't ever go to New York. Just stay in Connecticut.
Yeah, it's like
as long as you can.
Exactly. It's like some sort of weird 50s sitcom version of a producer.
Oh, it's so funny.
Yeah, it's pleasant. It's Pleasantville.
And now he had paired up with Felissa, who had just tons of context in the horror world. And then you're like, okay, they said, we've done some movies. Can we share the trailers? Well, that's always the thing when you get a producer and then they show you your trailers and you're either looking at bad acting, bad shots, bad, you know what I mean? Something that you're like, okay, here we go. All three of these trailers were really cool. And my cat is moving my computer. Rubs her cheek against it. And then I was like, wow, they're really doing some good stuff. And then they showed me their Indiegogo campaigns. And then I just said, hey, Dan, can you read it? And he read the script. And unlike anyone else who had read it, he called me up and he goes, I get what you're trying to say here because of when it came out and stuff like that. I had just gone through a ton of therapy and I had many things that I had learned. And he goes, I understand what you're talking about with it because my character, the lead, is depressed.
Sure.
And he goes, I understand that. Or the movie starts that way. I understand how that feels. I understand what you're trying to say. There's much more here. Like people have said, oh, why don't you change it to Krusty if it's a fun creature? And I said, no, Crust is also the hard shell and the problems that we lay on ourselves. We have to get to the soft spot. You know, we have to get to the soft stuff underneath. And how big your crust is how much you avoid dealing with things. So this whole thing, as I looked at it recently, which I didn't realize, is a bunch of people going through really hard times, but making the wrong choices and sticking with the wrong choices. Like Danny Roebuck's character is my friend in the laundromat. His wife has died and he turned to drinking. Well, he's going to AA, but he's going to AA and getting his, whatever things for the court or whatever, because he had maybe a DUI or something, but he's still drinking. And he's, I get a sock monster to kill people. There's other people who do nefarious things. If Felissa's character bangs someone else, and like everyone's making the wrong choice because the harder choice to get that crust off you is do hard ass work when it feels like it'll never work. It never feels like it's going to work when you're doing it, when you're in it, but over time it slowly does. Yeah. And so I had all that in it, and Dan got it 100%. And he showed me how they did Indiegogos, and this was like in the summer.
Was that Dan Roebuck?
No, that's Dan Kearney. Who's
okay, the other Dan. Okay,
Danny Roebuck always said he would do it. Alan said he would do it. But people say that stuff.
Oh, dude, yeah.
But Danny was like, and I said, I have a smaller part if you don't want it to. He goes, no, I want the biggest part I can be with you.
Yeah, yes. Dude, Dan is such a stand-up dude, and he's
100%.
He's just so excited to be in movies, man. Like, that's what I love about Dan.
There are a few people that we've spoken to that I always am taken aback by because it's not, they've been in the industry long enough to be so jaded. And Dan's one of those people that's not, right? Yeah, and there's this select group of people that, like, genuinely love the craft and genuinely love storytelling.
It's funny you say that because I feel like there's two guests that we had last year that, like, we came out of that being like, wow, like, what positive energies these people had, and they were Felissa Rose and Daniel Roebuck. Yeah, and so like you've got the right people, man. You've got amazing people in this thing.
And you got fucking Cameron from Ferris Bueller. What,
dude? Yeah, Alan Ruck.
But the main thing for the Twister heads out there is the first time we've acted together since we were in that truck in Twister.
That's so cool.
later, but it's the first time we've acted on screen together.
Now tell me, are you going to try to slip in some sort of subtle Easter egg or anything like that? Have you thought about that?
I've already, so my cult movie is Sleepaway Camp. 100%.
Hell yeah.
Like when so Felissa said, well, if I do a documentary, you and your roommate, my friend Doug, are going to be, because we went to a theater. We went to a theater because, and not because we heard anything about it. We were going to be camp counselors. My boy comes back and he goes, dude, we have to go see this movie. I'm like, why? He's like, we're going to be camp counselors, right? And he goes, it's sleepaway camp. You go in a bus, come back in a box. And I go, oh shit, you're right. We have to go see it.
So,
like, what am I supposed to say to that?
Yeah.
You know? And so we go, and there's 40 people in the audience, maybe 40 people tops, spread out, big Westwood, California theater. And we're sitting there, and when it ends, I've never seen this before since, the lights go on and everyone stayed, and then everyone was looking around going, wait a minute. So the guy that was, wait a second. You know, and we all stood up, we start talking to each other in the aisle.
Oh, wow.
Follow each other out. We're all talking for another 20 minutes, and they're like, no. It was when the guy said, whatever. And she said this, and I've never experienced anything like that. Bring all our friends back the next weekend. It's gone. So we had to wait. Yeah. Like back in the day, it was you wait years until something VHS.
Dude, I was just talking with my wife about this, like yesterday or the day before, about exactly what you're talking about. That when I was a kid growing up in like the late 80s, early 90s, you waited 6 months to a year after something was in a theater before it came to like Blockbuster or Errol's Video or whatever. Now I think the standard is like 60 days now. Like with all the Marvel stuff, it's 60 days after it leaves theaters, it's on Disney Plus.
Yeah,
which is
and
absurd.
But when we finally got it, we had parties with friends and said, you got to see this, and we turned it on to our families, and we did all this crazy stuff. We had such a good time. I've seen that movie like 30 times.
Yeah.
And so when these producers were saying, oh, get on the show, I said, that's not, I'm making for the guy or the girl who comes home from the party with their friends. They've had adult beverages, adult gummies, and they're sitting there, they turn this on and they go, oh my God, this is awesome. I got to tell my friends about this. Right. And then next week they have a party, or they do a watch party with some friends. That's what I had to tell these producers, because I'm basically saying, no, I'm not in it to make you a ton of money on the back end. That's not why I'm doing it. I'm making this for the fans who have appreciated my comedy, have appreciated my horror, and I want to give you the gift that Sleepaway Camp gave to me, that Rocky Horror gave to my wife, that People Under the Stairs has given to all these fans of like Roaches on screen for 11 minutes, dude.
Right.
It's iconic. Right. And it's iconic. And so this is the perfect directorial debut for you then. I love what I really love about this story is that you've cut to the emotional core of a story about a sock monster.
Yeah.
And it immediately made me think of something that I think Stephen King said in On Writing, which is, good storytelling is only when two good ideas meet each other and become an actual story. And I love that you had that journey, right? You had the sock monster, and then you found a way to connect emotionally to that sock monster and find the core to that.
Well,
that's amazing.
As someone who went through a divorce as well and went through a similar period where it was like I wasn't mad at anything or anyone in particular. I was mad.
Yeah.
And I had an amicable divorce, right? Like my ex-wife and yeah, exactly.
So
and I tell people this all the time. Like even the most amicable divorce is traumatizing. Period.
Yeah.
So even hearing you describe that sells it to me on like a deep level, right? So like I love that there's the sell to the horror audience that it's a fucking sock monster.
But there's heart. Core. There's heart there.
And then there's the sell to people that's, it's wonderful when you can relate a specific experience to other people, right? And there's that weird sense of connection that like goes a little deeper. I dig it.
Yeah. I mean, I actually have, I've met a guy yesterday and he's got a thing called Victims and Villains or something. And it's a mental health entertainment group that they do, radio shows and stuff like that. But they also have resource centers for people who are getting it. So I got on there and I was like, dude, I think I need to partner with you guys possibly to be on the film, because I definitely want to discuss that, because people who have gone through that, they kept on going, yeah, I can see what he's going through a little bit. Like they noticed what I'm going through. And so I think it was that kind of passion that drove me to do it. And people who understood it. And then with Felissa and Dan, the way they do things, we only want to work with people who want to be there, who get it. I had an actor, a pretty strong actress that would be good, you know, kitsch wise if they were in it with me or something, because it's a union of sorts. But, you know, she had read it. She goes, "Oh, you're doing Porky's, huh? Like jerking off into socks." And I went, "You don't get it." You know what I mean? Like,
right. And
she'd only read for like 20 pages and said, "I think I'll finish it." The other actress who ended up getting the role called me and was like, "I couldn't put it down." Yeah. Like I knew read a script in one sitting, but I could not put this down. And then you go, that's
who you want.
You know, right. I mean, that's the person who gets it and understands the fun of it, you know. And the best thing is, you know, people like Alan and Danny, we all have the best intentions, but Danny was like, "No, I want a bigger part." And then Alan was finishing up Succession. He's traveling all over the world. And then I get back and I go, "Hey, can I talk to you?" He's like, "Sure." And I go, "Hey, man, do you want to do this?" And you had said yes a long time. He goes, "Oh yeah, absolutely." He goes, I said, "Well, you got to," he goes, "I'm going to tell my people, you announce me when you want to, blah, blah, blah." And I was like, "Of course I'm in." And I go, "Have you read it?" And he goes, "No, I haven't." He goes, "Wasn't it like, it's a lot of cum, right?" And I go, "Alan, I'm completely," and he goes, "Why?" And I go, "It's a lot of heart with a lot of cum."
He's like, "It's that CRUST cum movie, right?"
No. It's a heart, it's a heart that pumps cum instead of blood.
Yeah. And how much? How did you have like a lot of stress going to that conversation? Be like, "God, I hope this is gonna happen," and he was just so easy about it.
Oh my God, it was like night and day. You know, just because it's easy to say, but he's such a big, actor that he could easily say, "Yeah, my agent says I got to keep those months open. I just finished." Who knows, sure. And all valid. Sure. But no, he was super dope. And we just dropped the news on people were freaking out, and all the, so it's just so nice that he goes, no, I want it. He goes, "I'm calling my people," and he has big people. And he says, "I'm doing this for my buddy. That's it." And I go, "Well, I'm in the budget. I'm trying." He goes, "We'll figure." He goes, "I'm doing it. Just say I'm doing it." Yeah, and it was like, awesome. Oh my God, it's so beautiful, Awesome.
He's got a clause in his contract somewhere. He can do one bodily fluid-based movie, like every decade, maybe 2 decades, something like that.
Yeah. And they're like, Alan, you're lucky that in 2010 you did that Earwax movie.
Right, exactly.
Skating by.
Well, yeah, because there's probably like, a 5 or 10 year non-compete with any sort of bodily fluid, I would imagine. Yeah. So production-wise, where are you guys at with it right now?
So right now, because we want to do it the way we want to do it, and we want to deliver a movie that I know would be funner for you guys, we are doing an Indiegogo campaign. We have done really well. We want to get to
you guys slayed it. You guys met your first.
We met the initial call.
Yeah.
But the thing in Indiegogo, they make you do something that's here's the trick of it. You have to put something that's achievable first. Uh-huh. That's never your real goal. Like sure. It would be very hard to make a movie for 40K. You know what I mean?
That's what I was amazed about when I saw that. I'm like, this man is going this. I thought you were just calling in every favor, man, that you knew.
No, and but I am in some way, but then we really want to. I really want to hit 100, but right sure. now they're saying our next goal is 70 because people want to feel that we're getting there and stuff like that. But so I am telling people like you can be a part of this movie in so many different, from a $5 shout out from me to $25. That's the big one that I'm trying to get 1,000 people to do that. It's a special thanks. Your name is in this movie for the life of the movie, for the rest of it in the credits. And my fans, last week, if you follow me, I asked if I get this goal, should I do a man wax? Should I paint my body from head to toe or dress up and drag and perform? And overwhelmingly, people said dress up and drag and perform.
Yeah, I voted on that.
Is that what you
I voted for drag.
Yeah. It's also a 2-parter because the other 2 involve like some sort of wardrobe change, but they don't involve performing.
I voted for that because I feel like where we're at in history right now, more people need to
they're like dinner and a show.
Brazenly, to use your word, do drag. Especially like as of today with Bill Lee in Tennessee making it literally illegal to be dressed in drag in public. Like that's insane.
So to me, it's interesting. But believe me, when I was doing my radio shows this morning, I did a whole bunch. The ones like in different places, and I didn't mention that. But I was like, you know what? I'm super down, and I really want us to get to 1,000 of those. I think it would be fun. That's willing to show what I did. I did this pinky.
Yeah.
This is that's excellent work, by the way.
I got it at a real place.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But it's my pinky to say I'm going to take this off in front of an audience of people right before the first screening of
Like
CRUST.
You're going to chop the finger off or?
Yes. Of course.
Yeah.
And my cat will eat it.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's an old Hollywood tradition. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm going to say that I'm going to keep this thing on as long as I can. Until I'm going to keep it on until the movie screens in front of an audience and everyone will watch me take it off.
Nice.
Nice. That's my goal. But I'm willing to put myself in drag. I'm willing to do anything to get the art that I want to portray to my fans out. So right now I'm doing that.
What are you going to perform in drag?
See, that's what I don't know. But when I get what I'm going to tell people, the next vote will be, do you want me to do pretty drag? Because that's a thing, or fun, campy drag.
Right.
And then people will decide. And then once I get that, I'm going to reach out to the drag queen community and find someone who's willing to make me over, and we'll film it and do the whole thing.
My vote is for you to be Roach in drag.
Oh.
Roach in drag could be funny.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Roche.
Oh, love it.
See, you should trademark that right now.
Wheels are already turning.
Yeah,
I love
exactly. That. And then so I have a great DP who literally said, we need to storyboard this now because you need to know what we're shooting, how we're shooting it, because you're going to be worrying about your actors and your performance. So, God, he's so smart for doing that. So we've been knocking it out, and that's been really fun.
Did he shoot the image that's on the poster that you've released so far?
No, that was Aaron Mento shot that in a laundromat in 2016.
Because I really feel like that image captures the mood that you're conveying entirely. It's all there. So it's a great image. Like really. Yeah.
And what's great about that one is that you can't really see CRUST, but if you look close enough, you can see his two eyes are like looking at me. It just looks like a pile of socks, but if you see it, but no, it's something that I know this community, and I've dreamed about the horror convention, signing socks, having CRUST the puppet right there behind me, people get photo opportunities with it, then bringing the puppeteer sometimes so people get a VIP video. They can get a video with me and the puppet, and they can the puppet will react and everything. So, and the puppeteer is a true Muppeteer.
Oh, wow. Yes.
Oh, yes.
Show that is announced that I'm so psyched about. They're doing a Dr. Teeth and the Medicine show. The band.
Yeah, I saw this.
Did you hear about that?
And so every time a new Muppets property comes out, I'm a little suspect of it at first. Like the one that they did that was basically a parody of The Office, but it was the Muppets. So it was like a weird documentary style Muppet show. It wasn't great, but the Dr. Teeth thing looks kind of wonderful.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and I guess they were telling me the funny story about a very big director, and I can't say, and I'll tell you guys off there. But basically wanted to be so bad and wanted to have a moment with the saxophone guy, Zoot. The guy with the sunglasses and the cat. The saxophone guy.
Yeah, the jazz cat.
And it's just so funny. Like to me, being around just like being around Animal, or I mean, it would be so cool. But bottom line is, she worked for real Muppeteers at the Jim Henson Company. When she took the puppet and did it live, it was nuts. Like I was, oh my God, like this thing is amazing.
That was like the first moment it actually looked alive to you.
Oh my God, it was nuts.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so I thought, and talking about pets, like literally it has the eyes where, if it's curious, it can go, and look like that, and be excited with its eyes wide open, mean with its eyes closed, and she just did so many cool things. It was nuts.
Wow.
I'll have to
excited to see it.
I have to get an email for you guys, and I'll have to send you the video. It's so dope.
Oh, I'd love to see that.
Hell yeah.
So is it all practical effects you're going for in this film, or are there going to be some VFX?
I think we only have 2.5 VFX shots.
Okay.
Everything's practical.
Oh, that makes my heart so happy.
Yeah. That's amazing.
I'm a strong advocate of practical effects.
I just love puppets. I mean, like all of these things. Like I love practical effects, puppets in like the realm of John Carpenter's The Thing, and I love puppets in the realm of like Jim Henson's Muppets. And
I mean, I love fucking Thanksgiving, dude. Like,
hey,
it's like the way it's arguably the worst puppet ever. I think
Jordan Downey's cool with me. Yeah,
I think there's something inherently whimsical and also abjectly terrifying about puppets, right? Like, no matter where they sit on the spectrum of puppetry, there's always something wonderful and terrifying at the same time about them.
I guess sort of like that new Megan movie is sort of like a walking puppet.
Yeah,
I
haven't seen that yet. I'm excited
neither.
I heard, but I feel like I'm in the right realm of what people want right now, because Toy Story 5 and Frozen 3 and I love Toy Story. Like Toy Story to me,
of course,
like I would say arguably the best trilogy. 1, 2, and 3 is arguably the best trilogy, and come at me, I'll
we won't.
Lord of the Rings, whatever, and I'll go, yeah, but each one was specific and it had great art. And I appreciated 4, but 5, I'm like, come on, guys. Like,
it's Disney. I've noticed this thing where when it's Disney's property, like it's a Disney joint per se, they milk it to death. And I've noticed that with properties they've acquired, like Lucasfilm and Marvel, they play a completely different game, right? Like if you compare what Disney did with Toy Story and the Frozen films to how gingerly they're treating the Star Wars universe in terms of like adding new property to it, like it's night and day.
But when I saw everybody get so pumped for Cocaine Bear, I go, yes. That's what because I go, I'm going to actually do a post on my thing. I go, tell me, here's my question. If you're going to see Cocaine Bear, are you seeing it with are you seeing it with friends, adult beverages, adult gummies, or all three? And if you're not doing any of those, why do you hate America?
Yeah.
Let me just share to you my heartbreak, bro. I've been sitting on a Meth Gator script that I wrote and was like circulating around for quite some time, which is that same approach where it's wild and crazy, but there's like a very true heart to it.
Yes.
Oh, dude, I've read it, and it's incredible.
It takes itself seriously within its own realm. And to see that new poster from Asylum drop.
There's another guy I know who wrote. I wish I mean, the name is so dope, it's insane. But but same kind of fun thing. And I really think people are looking for the group of friends that come over and have their adult brownies and kick back and like have a blast watching a movie like this,
Yeah.
I think that's what I was saying about the community. I think I can see the community embracing something like this.
Absolutely.
And that's the kind of thing, like at a film festival, people would love to see that on a big screen with horror fans, and that is the fun, man. The community element, the drive-in element.
I'll tell you this: if COVID did anything for the entertainment industry, for films and specifically, it reignited a passion for cult cinema, and it reignited a passion for getting away from giant, big budget blockbuster films and remembering that it's, for every Jaws, there's an Earth Girls Are Easy, right?
Yeah.
And there's a Tammy and the T-Rex. That you're just like, you're like, man, fucking whatever. Spielberg's great, but like it didn't have the same impact on me that Tammy and the T-Rex did, right?
Right.
And like
100%.
And COVID brought us back to a place where we were like, because we were locked inside for 2.5 years. So of course we ran out of shit to watch on streaming. So we went back to some weird shit.
And we crave the communal, right? We crave that aspect to the film experience, right? The theater, but on a small scale even.
Well, everybody has like a personal goal. In the 90s for me, I was like, my goal was, I just don't want to be the milk guy anymore.
Sure.
Oh, you're the milk guy. No? Oh, it's the milk guy. Hey, you're the milk guy. And I went, okay. And then that I achieved that goal. People go, I know you from, and I'm
you're that guy from that thing.
Well, now I have my, like, in restaurants. I was a waiter. I don't know. Did you guys do bartending or restaurant?
Yeah,
absolutely.
We both have.
Well, you know how to read a table, right? You go up, the two businessmen hunched over like this. You go, what would you like? You get out of their way. You can tell they're not in it. The old ladies on the girls' night out, you're like, wait a minute, I need some IDs. And they're like, oh, you know how to read and play that. Now I literally, who comes up to me, they go, what do I know you from? I go, how old are you? Woman, 25 to 45? Never been kissed, 100%. Quirky musician person, that thing you do. Yeah. Someone with the African American community loves people under the stairs.
Yep. Right.
You come up with me with a big black shirt and tats all over, people under the stairs. I just know so many young 20 somethings. They know me from Disney Channel. It was all 5 years ago. So like I know how to pick out who. Sure. What you want and stuff like that. But so then when I met Felissa years ago, she said, I just don't want people to want Angela to come to the convention stuff. I want them to want Felissa to come. And she achieved 100%.
Oh, yeah.
People, of course, love Angela, but people want Felissa Rose. My new goal is I want people to come up to my table and want to buy stuff from CRUST, not just people under the stairs.
Sure.
Hell yeah.
That's my goal.
Hell yeah.
And so it's really hard to do that because, Bill Moseley, all of us, we all get Sid, all of us, when we were out there, and you do new movies and you're just hoping but they all come back and wanted,
I've heard a couple actors explain this to me before where, careers and movies in general and performances are all about moments, right? And it doesn't matter how many things you do, it's always going to come back to a certain few moments. And you've, I think, had a fortunate career in the way that you've created so many of those moments. Over time that you're able to do that, where you look at somebody, age range, you're like, okay, I feel like I know probably what my moment might be for these people. And like, I think that's a beautiful thing, right? To create those moments, because that's what lasts forever, right? People don't remember the whole movie. They remember the part that they love.
Yeah. And I think that, I read Keith Richards' book, which is amazing. If you haven't read it, must read it, because when people go, he should be dead. If you read the book, you go, no. He should be dead. Like 100. Let's put it this way: he's having sex with this woman in Laurel Canyon, and an explosion goes off in the thing. Him and her dive out of the bedroom window naked, and I go, this isn't just about. This is like a crazy,
right?
Like
made up.
Yeah, no, that's Tuesday for him.
Yeah. But the point was, in his book, he said in the 80s, Mick wanted to do what Michael Jackson did and separate from the Stones and do his own thing. And he said, I wanted to be the cool blues guy and stuff. And at the end of the decade, they turn to each other and they go, shit, they just want to hear the Stones.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And so, you're trying, when can you, Paul McCartney's biggest cheers, I went and saw him, it's still always going to be the Beatles, no matter what. And he's got some really cool music. But to me, it's just, I just want people to have something new to see me as.
Yes.
Now, you know what I mean? And try to, balance that out with something new. And that's really hard to do when you have iconic performances and things that were old,
Yeah.
Right. But I think the way you're doing it is the way to do it, to create new moments, is to come at something like this as a true passion project, right? This isn't some horror comedy that like some network is churning out. You're taking your killer sock movie as seriously as you could possibly take it. And that's what makes me excited to see it.
Yeah, I just want, I have a dance sequence in there where I'm dancing with the sock puppet.
Amazing.
Hell yeah.
The sock monster, but there's so many fun. It's just, I'm trying to give those gifts but going way back to the original question, I have some sleepaway camp Easter eggs.
Oh yeah.
Hell yes.
People under the stairs. I haven't had any Twister ones, but now everyone's like, please, just one.
There's gotta be one. Even if it's just, even if it's just like a tiny little cow that flies by in the background.
Well, I don't know, but I will. But yeah, that's what I think, and I think I noticed a difference because I got on TikTok and I got like 400,000 followers. I went to a convention years before and I'd walk around and big people were there. Like 20% of the people would be like, oh yeah, there's Sean. That's cool. Like, I'd walk to the bathroom or anything. This time I just went to Mad Monster Party and like 80% of the people were like, oh, there's Sean. And then the people who came up to the table were not saying, oh, I love Danny. I'm glad he's in your movie. Or, I love Felissa. I'm glad she's in your movie. They all came up and go, dude, I love this idea for the story.
Fuck yeah,
I love
dude.
The story. And then I went, oh, I'm going to be okay. You know what I mean? Because they're curious about the idea. And that made me go, oh, this is good. Wait, my big moment will be if someone cosplays me or Rebecca Kennedy or the monster.
Or the sock, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing is Hollywood says, oh, you could lead a movie. Oh, will you give me one? No. And then they're like, oh, you could be a romantic lead. Really? You think so? Will you give me one? No. So you have to educate them what you can do.
Sure.
That's the way it is right now. I have to show you what I can do. It's like when Billy Bob Thornton did Sling Blade, and Stanley Tucci and I forget his other, they partnered up and did Big Night. And you have to show people what they don't know you can do.
Sure.
And so for Rebecca Kennedy and I to have romantic leads, never been done. No one would ever do that. Sure. But people look at us and they go, yeah, but that's what real life looks like.
Exactly. Yes.
Yep. Yeah,
and that's what's
Brad
lacking.
Pitt is not real life.
There's something inherently different when I look at everything around CRUST, the vibe, just the photograph, and then I look at something that on the surface should be similar, like Slacks, for instance, the Killer Jeans movie.
Oh yeah.
But like I get completely
fun. It looked fun.
It was fun.
Yeah.
I don't know how much
it was exactly what it sold itself.
But
as.
I don't know how much I got out of it, like emotionally, right? Like that element didn't like strike necessarily, which is it doesn't have to in a movie about killer pants. It doesn't have to. Right. But I love this is what makes me so much more excited for something like CRUST, where I feel the emotional center of that movie, and it just makes so much more sense to me.
Yeah, and I think that's what I'm excited about is people who write me, and I've had several people on my crew, obviously they ever read, and they said, yeah, man, this kind of hit a little different than I thought it would. You know what I mean? Seeing him have a panic attack in the back of the laundromat,
sure.
and stuff like that, and struggle to get through some things, and I said, good, then that's a discussion that we should have, and normalize it on screen is not like I did a movie as a lawyer, and this was a true case. This is a real actual case about domestic abuse in Michigan, and the writer didn't put in this one section. I did my research of the case and everything, and he didn't put in this one section. I go, dude, you have to put this back in because it's so brazenly awful. And I'm defending the guy who beat his wife, and one of the things he says is and you know what they have against us? They have phone calls. And what's so there's nothing inherently dangerous or life-threatening about a phone call. They're merely an inconvenience. And that was a true thing he said in the thing. The phone calls literally were, I'm going to rape you. I'm going to kill our kids in front of you. I'm going to murder I'm going to burn down your house with you trapped. And I was like, if mental health was normalized, that would be abuse.
Right.
100%.
Right.
Yeah.
100%.
All those inconveniences is, you go, what? Like that is abuse. You know what I mean?
Well, it's only, it's only referred to as abuse after the fact, right? Like that's like, that's the part about it that you just hit the nail on the head, by the way, with saying when, not if, mental health is normalized and destigmatized, it will not be the norm for it to be after the fact, right? Like that's the really infuriating part about that. But
when women go to the police department and say he's left these messages, wrote these notes, painted weird things on my car, then they can go arrest them. Right. As opposed to, well, he hasn't hit you yet.
Or it's like every time you hear about a mass shooter, about a week later, you start hearing all of the news stories like, oh, yeah, dude, this dude raised red flags his entire life. And multiple therapists were like, he's going to kill one day. But nobody did anything because they were like, oh, he's upstanding.
100% of every case that you've seen where someone is killed by their stalker, they all have this moment where they go to the police and they're like, well, after he attacks you, come talk to us. Then we can do something.
Yeah. Police in this movie, and this is a true thing too, they all say literally go, we need dental records and fingerprints just in case we find you dead.
Just keep them on file.
That's what the police are doing, and you're like,
to tie this to CRUST in a weird way, it's cool that you're in your own sort of lighthearted and yet horror way destigmatizing mental health and saying like normal people go through mental health struggles, and it's a matter of, one of the reasons I loved the Joker film so much was because the majority of that film dealt with what happens when you ignore mental health in society, or when you make it a classist thing. And to know that that's a motivation for you, that if I wasn't already going to be behind this 100%, that would throw me behind it, right? Because that's.
I mean, look, I could have done a movie. It's like, there's a guy that's depressed, and he buys a really good book that his friend recommended. He did some work, and then got a really great therapist, and now he's better.
Right.
Like no one wants. So this is showing the downside of those things, but. If it goes well, and right now it looks like it is, the interest, I did write it as a trilogy.
Ooh.
There is a part 2 and a part 3, and there's a whole arc to the whole thing. So let's see if that. I mean, I doubt it now. The way it's getting the interest it is now, that we wouldn't. I mean,
I love that you're low key playing the long game. Yeah, that's smart. That's smart.
A friend of mine who said, "Dude, I've read the script." And he goes, and I think the world needs this right now. He's like, you really have to shit the bed when you shoot this thing for it not to do well.
Sure,
you know what I mean?
Sure.
My wife and I started to sit down with my DP. I sat down, I go, I just started, laying out the shots, and we both started crying and hugged each other. And she goes, you've been working so hard to get this done. I'm so happy for you,
Yeah. That's
so amazing. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be fun.
Well, Sean, we wish you all the best with it, man.
Yeah, we're so excited for the movie. We can't wait to see it when it comes out, wherever it's going to come out.
Please help us out, people. Please just go get a special thanks, and you can be a part of something fun.
What's the? It's Indigo. Is there a specific website?
Indiegogo.com. That's it. And then search, you just put CRUST.
Okay,
and
cool.
Great. And if you guys are extra lazy, we'll just post that link right in the X-Files of our website. So go check that out. Go grab one of those perks. Get your name in the credits.
All right, so we'll have to reconvene this summer after I shoot and I'm in the editing process.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, sounds great.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you so much, man.